Hello everyone, I'm Eternal Flame here, and today I'm here making another video on what I think Yuji's power-up is. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I think I am completely and absolutely wrong on what I thought it was before, that Yuji now has access to Sukuna's curse technique. I think it actually is something else completely different, and I want to go into what my new belief on what Yuji's power-up is, and what the key of it's going to be, and how it's going to be useful against Sukuna. Because I now believe Yuji has access to blood manipulation and soul manipulation. However, before we even get into the video, be sure to like and subscribe to get more content like this. We've got a lot more on the channel, and let's get straight into this. So first, I'm going to go over every single reason why I genuinely don't think this is Sukuna's curse technique anymore, because there are like 3 reasons why. Then I'm going to go into what Yuji having full access to soul manipulation and blood manipulation is going to do for him, and how this is going to help him fight against Sukuna. Up first, and this is like my main reason, if Yuji got Sukuna's curse technique, it would be a genuinely terrible power-up for Yuji to get specifically against Sukuna, because it's something that I've been using to say why Yuji has the best chance against Sukuna. It was stated in chapter 235, when you attack yourself with your own cursed energy, the result is much weaker. For example, that's why Gojo was able to survive the massive Hollow Purple with only a few scratches in comparison to the damage that Sukuna took. And, well, the source of Yuji getting Sukuna's curse technique would be the fact that Yuji is coated in Sukuna's cursed energy. But if you can follow where I'm going with this should mean Yuji's attacks, if he was using Cleave and Dismantle on Sukuna, or just any of Sukuna's curse techniques, would be massively less effective on Sukuna, because it's basically just the exact same thing, but to a much weaker extent than what the Hollow Purple did for Gojo. In other words, if Yuji were to get access to Sukuna's curse technique, it would be absolutely terrible for Yuji to use specifically on Sukuna, because it's effectively his own curse technique, thus Sukuna should be even more resistant to it, especially considering Sukuna has even more of his own cursed energy, since he has that 20 fingers right now, and at full power, and well, it is Sukuna. Furthermore, if this was Sukuna's curse technique, I'm pretty sure Sukuna would have actually commented on that or had a thought bubble about it, but that could be explained next chapter, who knows. However, there's one more thing that does actually convince me away that this is not Sukuna's curse technique at all, and this is because of something that was convinced me on Twitter, which is from a Twitter post from Viper, which I'd recommend go checking out their post, which they're basically talking about how Yuji's claw actually looks more similar to Kechizu's claw, mainly because the nails aren't black like Sukuna. And that is what gave me the entire idea and led me down the thought train and the realization that if Yuji got access to Sukuna's curse technique, unless he just massively surpassed Sukuna, which I don't believe for a second, and I don't think anyone else believes that Yuji has surpassed Sukuna to such a massive degree that Sukuna's curse technique would be effective despite the nerf that comes with using his own curse energy on him, then yeah, this is definitely not Sukuna's cursed energy or curse technique that Yuji is using right now with the claw. No, what I think Yuji is currently using is a mixture of soul manipulation and blood manipulation, because as I have commented before, Yuji has an extremely powerful soul. Because with Yuji's soul alone, he is capable of suppressing Sukuna before he even becomes aware of cursed energy. To the point where before he can even awaken cursed energy, Yuji is able to suppress 2 of Sukuna's fingers with relative ease, and it's enough to convince Gojo that Yuji would be able to suppress all of Sukuna without even awakening cursed energy. Kenjaku also even supports this by saying even if they were to feed 20 Sukuna fingers to Yuji across 20 different days, nothing would happen and Sukuna would never get the chance to take control, as well as Kenjaku's somewhat uncertainty that 10 fingers would be enough, because he very keenly uses the word maybe. So I do think 10 fingers would always be enough, I just want to state that. It implies more to me that Yuji could likely suppress 7 fingers worth of Sukuna's soul being fed to him at once, or it's like some arbitrary number above 1. And I think that's a result and property of Yuji's soul. Now, I do actually have 2 separate theories going over what I think Yuji is and why Yuji's soul is actually at such a strong point, with one theory being Yuji is the reincarnation of one of Sukuna's twin brothers, and Yuji also being a reincarnation of a previous vessel of Sukuna that was actually able to contain him, and both being why Kenjaku expects so much of him. However, either could be true or neither could be true. But what is true is the fact that Yuji has an extremely strong soul and an extremely strong body. Now you might be wondering, where does the body come into this entire theory? And that is because of a theory that Mahito presented. about how the soul and the body are completely connected, and through that the body will always follow the shape of the soul. This is also extremely supported by the fact that Mahito's power-up came from getting a better understanding of the soul itself, allowing him to transfigure his form, making him much more durable and much more powerful when he was intentionally doing it and making a better form for combat. This is how Mahito makes himself incredibly strong throughout the entire manga, by repeatedly changing his form and making it better and better for killing. I also believe that is the reason why Yuji is so incredibly strong. Because Yuji has a strong soul, it made his physical body as tough and powerful as it is. Because even without cursed energy, he was able to do these superhuman levels of feats. Like, for example, being able to jump several stories, and just being able to beat all of the students at once without cursed energy powers, which included the likes of Maki, who had basically no cursed energy already, and was just like a semi-heavenly restricted user. Like, she had some cursed energy, but not that much, as well as someone like Todo, who Todo stated Yuji without cursed energy in pure raw physical strength is stronger than him. However, I believe this is all the result of the dormant power of Yuji's soul, because Yuji's soul and body is noted to be in such an unnatural freak of nature that it's bordering on heavenly restriction levels of people, and this is all without Yuji trying to manipulate the soul, or more accurately, having the knowledge on how to manipulate the soul. After all, in my opinion, Yuji's soul is the only way he could have suppressed Sukuna, because Yuji's cursed energy has never been noted to be that huge of a thing. In fact, Yuji notes himself to be the literal opposite of Yuta, where Yuta has so much cursed energy it's more than Gojo, but he has an incredibly weak body. Yuji doesn't have much cursed energy, but he has an incredibly physically strong body, and I think that's a result of his soul. And the reason that I call it dormant power of his soul is because once you understand the true nature of your soul, you are able to transfigure yourself and make yourself so much more powerful, as we see with Mahito. Because the way Mahito unlocked the instant spirit body of distorted killing was by understanding the true essence of his soul, his true form of it, and it was allowing him to change the shape of his soul in order to achieve that true form and nature. Now, some of you guys might also be saying, doesn't Mahito need idle transfiguration in order to change the shape of his soul into that form? And while I would agree with you, unfortunately that's not the case, because as we see with several of the reincarnated sorcerers, they are able to change the shape of their soul back into their original body. We see this with Yorozu, who changes everything but her face into her original body, and we see that with Sukuna, who just basically uses as a full revive and full restore on his body. What I believe Yuji's new power-up is something extremely similar, where he is changing the form and shape of his soul in order to fully unlock the potency of his soul and use it in his physical body in order to amplify it to its limits. Because there is something else that should be noted about Yuji. While his cursed energy doesn't have the potential to match Sukuna, Yuji does have something in his arsenal that has the potential to at least do something extremely strong against Sukuna, and that is his own soul. After all, it is Yuji's soul that is capable of suppressing Sukuna to begin with. And with a Yuji who now had a month to train, as well as access to all of Yuki's study on the soul book, I think Yuji's soul is on a completely different playing field in comparison to now, and Yuji has access to the full power of his soul, and I think that is what's going to be the key behind understanding his power-up. Now, there might also be some of you guys wondering, okay, where does blood manipulation come into all of this? And that is what I'm going to get into next. Now, I think that a lot of people agree with me on the fact that Yuji definitely ate his brothers that were left, in all 6 of them. After all, Choso very clearly says, my brothers will live on through you, so that's okay. Like, if that's not confirmation, I don't know what is. However, I think I understand what the power-up is going to be and how that's going to do with soul manipulation. We also know that it is possible to have a symbiotic relationship with the soul you share a body with, through Hana as well as Angel, because they have a symbiotic relationship which allows them to share things like cursed energy as well as Hana to use Angel's cursed technique. I think the same exact thing is going to happen to Yuji, where Yuji is going to get the assistance and techniques from all 6 of his brothers in order to use in combat, and he is going to alter his soul repeatedly to make his soul more and more perfect for each of the techniques to use. I also do think he has access to the ability to transport his soul into other people while letting one of his brothers take the handles and the reins with Yuji's full body in the process. However, I've made an entire theory on the entire transport soul thing, so I'm not going to get too into that here. But I do think they had Yuji consume his brothers for a reason, and I don't think it was just for a pure raw cursed energy buff, but rather for him to be able to access their curse techniques to use in battle, such as flowing blood red scale especially, which would amp his physical strength even more on top of his perfected soul body that I think is coming, as well as piercing blood arrow for range, etc., like supernova, or maybe other techniques that we don't even know about yet. This could also be how Yuji ends up awakening a domain expansion, which could be a mixture of soul damage and blood damage, and it would be really, really cool. But I do think Yuji now has access to blood manipulation and all of the curse techniques that his brother had access to, and he is going to be able to change his soul and his shape of his soul in order to make it perfect for his brothers to use it and use him as a medium through it. Furthermore, he would also now have access to 6 additional pools of cursed energy. Now, we do not know how strong his brothers actually were, but that's still 6 people that are additional pools of cursed energy stacked on top of Yuji's cursed energy pool, which is also going to be amped even further by the massive, massive rage amp that he is about to feel through seeing the fact that Gojo had just died, that Megami might be gone forever. He just basically lost everything up to this point. I also think that these are the 2 most likely power-ups, because while it was around 20 chapters ago, these are still rather recent power-ups in comparison to the entire Yuji getting Sukuna's curse technique, which happened extremely early on in the manga, and that was when Gojo said it. So if this were to be the power-up instead, it would make a lot of sense. It would also fit extremely well narratively that he learned extremely well from 2 of the battles that had changed him the most, being Yuji versus Choso, as well as from his older brother, and Yuji versus Mahito, the one that made Yuji go through an entirely different mindset and applying things that he had learned through both of those battles to overcome the entire reason he became a Jujutsu sorcerer in the first place, to overcome the one that had taken away so much from Yuji, being Sukuna himself. However, that's kind of all I have for this theory today. I want to hear what you guys think on this entire theory below in the comment section on whether you think Yuji is going to get soul manipulation and blood manipulation and the claw as a result of that, or if this is a result of him awakening Sukuna's curse technique, or if you think this is enough to even do something against Sukuna to begin with, stacked with the rage amp that he is getting as well, and Higuruma assisting him. Now I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out, everybody.